Hi, this is Nick Katko, and welcome to this month's BMA webinar, Conducting Continuous Improvement to the Bottom Line. So the first thing I want to do is quick technical check. Can you see me? Can you hear me? Can you see my screen? And if you can answer in the question pane, that's good. All right, thank you very much. I also want to welcome Keith Norris from KBI Fire. He's a special guest and actually a sponsor of this event. We're going to do a little bit of a, I guess, Christmas gift, if you want to say that, where KBI Fire is going to pay for one person to take one of the lean accounting certification courses. So we're going to do a drawing, not right at the end of this webinar, but later today or tomorrow, based on those who attend the webinar. I'm going to use a random name generator, put everybody's name in, whoever comes out first wins. So we'll be doing that later. In terms of sort of the technical and administrative aspects of the webinar, if you'd like a copy of today's presentation, it's in the handout section of your control panel. If you are watching a recording of the webinar and you would like to get a copy of the presentation, just send me an email. There's a question pane where you can put questions in, and we'll try to get to them either during the webinar or at the end. And if you are, if you are a certified public accountant in the United States, excuse me, and you would like to get 1 hour of continuing education credit for attending the live webinar, you have to stay online for 50 minutes. You have to answer the 3 of the 4 polling questions. And by the way, today's, for those of you who have attended my webinars in the past, these are real polling questions based on things I'm going to be talking about, not just that you're attending. Now, again, you don't have to get the questions right or the answers right, but it is more, a little more interactive. So, excuse me, I want to get started. What are we going to talk about today? I want to show a simple example of why traditional financial analysis may not show the actual financial impact of continuous improvement. We're going to talk about the lean accounting box score and how that drives lean financial thinking and how it really starts to connect continuous improvement to the bottom line. Going to understand how to apply box score analysis to improvement events through a few examples, and you should be able to explain the components of a box score. And then at the end of this session, I'm going to turn the presentation over to Keith, and he's going to talk a little bit about KBI Fire software, which I have seen in action, and it's pretty good. So I want to give him a chance to show that. Let's get started. So I want to talk about an example of continuous improvement and measuring the financial impact. So let's talk about reducing changeover time on a machine. So what's the current state? It takes 2 hours or 120 minutes to do a changeover, 2 changeovers per day, 20 days per month. So the total time that is spent on changeovers over the course of a month is 4,800 minutes. An improvement event is conducted. The changeover time is reduced from 120 minutes down to 15 minutes. There's still, right now, 2 changeovers per day. So now we spend 600 minutes a month on changeovers. So we've improved 4,200 minutes, less changeover time. This is all a good thing. Now, and I've seen this in companies where companies are required to show a cost savings for continuous improvement activities. So this is a very traditional approach. And let's say that there's a rate, an established rate of $30 per hour for this value stream or this machine. So if you do the cost savings, 4,200 minutes, that's 7 hours. 7 hours a month multiplied by $30 per hour, we're going to save $2,100 per month because of this improvement. That's the financial impact. So that is going to lead to, I need to get my mouse. That is going to lead to our first polling question. So when will this cost savings show up on the income statement? This $2,100 per month. In the month the improvement is completed, in a few months, you're not sure, or it never will show up. Give you some time. I'm watching the votes come in. I'll give you a few more seconds. So I'm going to close the poll and I'm going to share the results here. It's interesting. So 30% said the month the improvement event is completed. Another 30% said in a few months. Some people weren't sure and it will never show up. Well, there is a right answer to this. And the answer is it's never going to show up. And I'm going to explain why. And it's based on the way Lean works financially. And this is known in the Lean accounting community as the economics of Lean. We have continuous improvement activities, continuous improvement events. Okay, the idea, we're trying to eliminate waste or reduce waste, non-value added activities. So what we're trying to do is stop performing certain activities. If you stop something, you create capacity or you create more time. So in this example, we went from a 2-hour changeover time down to a 15-minute changeover time. We have created more capacity on that machine. This is why many companies and even many Lean people say Lean is a time-based strategy. So the true financial impact of improvement that creates capacity is, what do you do with that capacity? Can you use that capacity to deliver value, serve your customers better? And or can you use that capacity to achieve cost reduction over time? So the application or the use of that capacity is what really drives financial success and connects continuous improvement to the bottom line. So let's take a look at this same example with a lean accounting approach. Excuse me. So we saved 4,200 minutes a month. We've created that much capacity. So the question is, what can we do with that capacity? So, the first piece is, can we deliver more value? So is there demand to produce and sell more? So let's say the answer is yes. So then you need to understand the cycle time of the product in the machine. Let's say it's 10 minutes. Which means we can produce 420 more units in a month because we have the capacity. So what's the financial impact of producing and selling more units? It's not cost savings. It's additional contribution margin. So if you assume, let's say there's the sales price of the product is $500, the material cost is $300 a unit, that's the variable cost. So your contribution margin is $200 a unit. And if you're selling 420 more units in a month, the additional contribution margin of $84,000, that is the financial impact of reducing changeover time. And by the way, that's a whole lot better than cost savings of $2,100 a month. All right, so this is going to go, now I'm going to ask you the second polling question, which is related to this changeover time. So let's say, for example, in this that there is no more demand to produce, okay? So in your case, would this still be a good improvement and why? And you can answer more, you can choose more than one. All right, I'll give you a few more seconds, about 10 more seconds to answer. All right, I'm going to close the poll, share the results. So I would say that you have, for the most part, answered this question correctly. So reducing the changeover time is still good. Maybe you can't sell more, but you can improve flow, you can reduce lead times, you can improve productivity, which are all very good improvements to make, even if there is no immediate financial impact. And that's really part of the economics of lean. You make improvements, there may be an immediate financial impact, but there may not. That doesn't stop you from making improvements. Okay, so let's now get into lean financial thinking. Okay, now it's important to understand that in analysis and decision making, one improvement event, many improvement events, the numbers are going to drive the thinking habits. When people do an analysis, they're using numbers to draw certain conclusions in their head. Okay, so it's not just the mechanical process, it's how people think. So what, the general goal in lean financial thinking is we want people that are doing the analysis to incorporate the economics of lean in their thinking. Because if you can do that, you can fully realize the financial benefits of lean, which is not simply cost reduction. It's really managing costs and possibly driving revenue growth. So the first thing we want to do with lean financial thinking is to get people to understand the true cause-effect relationships between operating performance, capacity performance, and financial performance. And what I tell companies when I'm working with them or whenever I'm doing any kind of lean accounting training, if you want to improve financial performance, you have to improve operating performance and or capacity performance. Those are the drivers. Those are the root causes. This idea of financial engineering, where you can set financial targets. You know, we want our costs to go down 5% and then just sort of dictate, you know, to everybody in the company, well, you have to lower your costs 5%. You may get something, but if you're not truly making improvements to operating performance and capacity performance, you're not going to realize things. So again, we're trying to drive cause-effect thinking habits. That's where the value stream box score comes into play. It is the primary tool in lean accounting to drive lean financial thinking. The numbers drive thinking habits. There are three components to the box score: lean performance measurements, value stream income statement, value stream capacity. So I'm going to go over these components, very, very briefly, and then we'll talk about examples. What's important to What's important to understand is that from a lean accounting viewpoint, your value streams are your profit centers. If you think about value streams as order fulfillment value streams, you receive an order and you deliver a service or ship a product. So all the steps that go in from order receipt to delivery comprise the value stream, and you have different value streams in your company based on the different product families or different services you provide. And some companies provide both products and services. So from a operating standpoint, what you're trying to do performance-wise is you're trying to improve delivery quality, lead time, productivity, cost, safety, and morale. You want to improve on-time delivery and improve quality and reduce lead times, serve your customers better in delivering services or products. Internally, you want to improve your productivity, increasing the output with the same resources. You want to reduce your costs over time based on the way you measure it, not necessarily absolute reduction in costs. And then in terms of respecting people, safety and morale. So these are basic lean goals. And we need relevant and useful lean performance measurements at the value stream level that are in the box score, measuring on-time delivery to customer request date, measuring the defect rate or the scrap rate of the entire value stream and working to improve it, understanding the average lead time or processing time and trying to reduce that. Productivity, increasing the output with the same resources. Units shipped or sales per hour worked. Reducing costs over time. Your labor cost as a percentage of sales, you want to go down over time. Safety, your incident rate, morale, respect for people, continuous improvement participation rate, problem solved per person. There's many different types of basic lean performance measurements that you can use. That's going to measure operating performance. The other part of the box score is the value stream income statement. As I mentioned, value streams are the profit centers, and from an internal viewpoint, you have to think of a value stream income statement as an analytical tool. Okay, all the numbers come out of the accounting general ledger. We're just going to break down this total company income statement. We're going to look at value streams as profit centers. So what's a value stream income statement look like? We want to understand the sales or the revenue of the value stream. We want to understand the direct costs of the value stream, that the value stream controls, has direct control over. What are the typical variable costs? Well, if it's a manufacturing value stream, you're going to have raw materials. You might have some supplies which vary based directly, and the variable cost is that these costs have a direct relationship. They change directly with changes in sales volume. You might have outside processing and services. Some companies even include sales commissions. Those are typical variable costs. Now, if you're not in manufacturing, you may not have significant variable costs. Most of your costs may be fixed. What are fixed costs? Fixed costs do not vary directly with changes in sales volume. And there's this element that there's some management decision which goes into changing a fixed cost. What are basic fixed costs? Labor and benefits, machines and equipment. There might be some others, okay? Now, labor is always the interesting discussion on fixed costs, because in manufacturing, there's the traditional view is that you have direct labor and it's variable. But in lean accounting, your full-time people, that's a fixed cost. You are paying them every day. Doesn't matter how little or how much they produce, you still pay them. That's a fixed cost. And changing your labor cost, really, there's this element of a management decision. Oh, we need to hire people. Oh, somebody voluntarily left the company and we need to replace them. Changing positions, changing job titles. That's the idea of a fixed cost. You can also calculate shared costs. So these are costs which are shared between multiple value streams. So the best examples in manufacturing, your manufacturing support departments, like quality, maintenance, maybe engineering. Okay, they support all the value streams. You might have production monuments, which would be a shared production cost, and obviously your facility costs. So all these costs can be assigned to value streams based on simple assignment criteria. Support labor, quality, how many full-time equivalent quality people work in each value stream on average every day. something like that. The third component is measuring capacity. And there are three elements of capacity, or three components of capacity. How much time are we spending on value-added activities? In terms of manufacturing, that's pretty easy to understand. In terms of service or administrative functions, what are the minimal necessary steps to create the product or the service? Non-productive capacity, all the other non-value added activities, both necessary and wasteful. For example, the example we did at the beginning, changeover time, that's non-productive, but it's necessary. Available capacity is the total amount of time created through continuous improvement. So you want to measure this. Now, I really don't have the time to go into the details of how to do the calculations, but I will say that it's understanding the average capacity, current state. It's not about time tracking. It's really about doing a periodic time study. And if you want to learn more, I'm going to give you a link to some templates that you can download for free from the website to calculate capacity. So working through the box score and analyzing any improvement activity really leads to 6 basic questions that you want to try to answer. One is, what's the impact on operational performance? Current state, future state. What's the impact on capacity? How much capacity, if we're eliminating wasteful activity, how much capacity are we creating? We want to quantify that. Then you can look at what's the impact on sales, variable costs and contribution margin. There might be some direct impact on costs and profitability. And so the box score is the tool to drive the thinking. And you have to sort of work through the box score to come up with what's the impact of this one particular improvement event or a series of improvement events. So I want to, there's some, I just want to look. There's a couple questions. Okay. So I have some time here. So there's one question, can I speak to the difference or similarity between capacity and utilization and productivity? It's a very good question, Joe. All right, so capacity, as we're measuring it here, is lean focused, productive value-added activities, non-productive activities, and understanding how much capacity is being created. Utilization is simply looking at, what's the total available time and how much is that machine being used. Okay, it may not necessarily capture the waste. I think that's the primary difference. Productivity is more about the performance of a process, increasing the output with the same or fewer resources. So output is value-added output. So productivity is a performance measure. Utilization is one of those traditional measures. It's like just the uptime of the machine. And as long as the machine is up and running, it's good. Utilization, from a traditional viewpoint, you want to utilize your machine so you produce more, for example, or people, you want to utilize your people so you keep them busy producing good products or delivering good services, whether they're needed or not, which is not really lean. Okay. Let me see, there's one more question. Okay, Joe asked about the 6 structured questions. Where is the impact on morale? Can we measure it? If you have it in your box score, there's different ways to measure it. You can look at like continuous improvement participation rate. You can look at cross training. You could look at problem solved per person. But what's going to drive morale in the company or in the value stream? So those are all good questions. So let's look at some examples. And I'm going to have some polling questions here to show you. So I'm going to pull up some box scores and really just talk through the box score. So here's a situation. The value stream team completes a future state map. They identify a series of improvement events to achieve the future state. What is the box score impact? So here we have a current state. You can see we don't have enough available capacity. It's -1%. The value stream is profitable, earns about 17%. You can see the basic performance measurements. The planned improvements. Improve on-time delivery. The expected future state is a 9% improvement. We go from 82% to 91%. We're going to focus on improving quality. It goes from 88% to 96% in the future state. Reduce the days of inventory, improving flow. So we're going to reduce the days of inventory from 14 days down to 8 days. We're also going to have some reduction in lead time. You also see some reduction in average cost per unit. So that's the operational impact of these planned events. The capacity impact, we're going to create 21% available capacity. That's real. And you can get all this from a value stream map. There is some immediate direct cost savings due to these planned improvement events. We're going to reduce the actual material cost. Why are we going to do that? We have improved quality. We have less inventory. Again, actual material cost. Okay, it is going to go down by this much. Then there's some other miscellaneous costs which this team is able to identify. So, what's the impact of what is the direct impact of these events? That's the future state column. Are those improvement events good? Yes, they're good both operationally, capacity-wise, and financially. But that begs the question, thinking through the economics of lean, what can we do with that available capacity? And this is sort of, I almost called it like a two-step process. What's the direct box score impact of continuous improvement? If capacity is being created, are there opportunities to use that capacity? And sometimes there's options. So, for example, one option, we can take some of the people from this value stream, transfer them to another value stream where they are needed. So what does the box score look like after that? Productivity goes up, cost continues to go down. Our available capacity goes from 20% to 14%. Our productive capacity gets better. And our actual labor cost in this value stream goes down. So we actually, the value stream income statement is even better. Now, you know, company-wise, company labor stays the same because we're just moving people. Another option, introduce new products which are available and there appears to be demand for them. You can measure the change in productivity, the change in cost. You can look at the capacity impact, which goes down to 11%. And much like the changeover time, we're using that capacity to sell more. There's an increase in the contribution margin. So if you look at the value stream profit, you know, it goes up significantly from just the future state of the improvements. It goes up to, you know, $492,000 a month compared to $267,000. That's pretty good. There might, in this case, in this example, there was also an opportunity to insource operations that were previously outsourced. So we improved delivery, we improved cost from the future state, we reduce inventory, we use capacity better, we have a better capacity profile. From a cost viewpoint, we have less material cost because we're making the product rather than buying it, and then we have some other costs which go down. So this is just an example of how you understand the immediate box score impact of continuous improvement. And then if you have capacity, there's sort of this additional analysis of what can we do with that capacity. There might be one way to use it. There might be a few ways to use it. And it's just important to and this is, if you think about this, it's really, really important for not just like value stream teams or continuous improvement teams to understand this. You think about owners or executives or senior leaders. If you have a lot of continuous improvement activities going on, you're creating capacity. And there needs to be this sort of strategic view of what are we going to do with that capacity over time if we're creating it on a consistent basis. So here's an example, sort of a takeoff of continuous improvement. So we have a value stream. Here's your current state. We have 7% available capacity. Again, we're making about 9% profit. And there's an opportunity to increase sales, okay? Sales and marketing is forecasting an increase in the near future, maybe like 3 months out. That demand is expected to go up to about 6,000 units a month. So you can calculate a future state box score based on that. What do you see? Well, you know, the contribution margin is good, about $21,000 a month based on the average sales price and the material cost. The problem is we don't have the capacity to meet that demand. So the question is, what do we do? Okay, because we want to have at least 7% available capacity. So that's going to get into polling question number 3. So what would you do to get back to 7% available capacity and also have the best impact on the bottom line? I just checked the questions. There's no more questions that have come through. All right, I'm going to close the poll, share the results. So I'd like to say that you are learning well, okay? You know, the most effective use is to create the most effective method to create the capacity is through continuous improvement. I do like you know, the idea that work some overtime until the improvement event is completed, that is something relevant too. I'm going to hide the results, and I'm going to show people what this company did. Is they sort of looked at two scenarios. Hold on. One is hire people. Okay. So they determined, this value stream determined that they would have to hire 4 people, and it would increase their cost, the labor cost. It would get them 8% capacity. And as you see, you know, they're still better than the current state. The current state profit was $15,288 a month. This is $21,000. So it's still beneficial. And you're getting that capacity. You're getting a little more capacity. The other thing they looked at was improvements, reducing the scrap rate and reducing downtime. Now that generates the capacity, and it is more profitable. The question that, you know, is out there is, can you make the improvements in time? That's where the whole thing about work and overtime comes into play, where, you know, we'll work the overtime and we'll work the improvements rather than making the permanent addition of capacity with 4 people. Again, this is something that, you know, everybody wrestles with, but the box score gives you the ability to look at the differences. All right, polling, I'm going to do polling question number 4. All right, so continuous improvement, let's just look at labor. And this could be an administrative process, it could be a service, it could be manufacturing, doesn't matter. But this is really about understanding how to reduce labor cost. So continuous improvement has created 20% available employee capacity in a value stream. So which of these actions that come up on the polling question would impact the bottom line? And you can answer more than one. All right, lots of good answers. Close the poll, share the results. So yes, there's lots of different, well, you know, there's lots of different choices here. I guess, you know, from my view, you know, lay off some poor performing employees. I don't, you know, performing poorly is about job performance and not about continuous improvement. And I guess really one of the things is you don't want to make any connection between continuous improvement and laying off people, because then people don't want to drive continuous improvement. But when you're looking at labor cost, you can look at actual savings or cost avoidance. So what are some actual savings? You can reduce overtime. If you have temporary workers or contract labor, you can reduce that. That's an immediate cost savings that shows up on the financial statements. You cannot replace people. You can promote internally, backfill at a lower cost position. You could insource outsourced operations. So these are all actual savings you can realize. You know, avoiding costs, you can deploy your people, redeploy your people. You can do cross-training, and really what cross-training does is you create more flexible capacity to move people around. Let's say you have available capacity, you can assign people to improvement activities or other temporary assignments. The point being, if you're driving continuous improvement, if you're going to create labor capacity, I always say have a plan, okay? So just to wrap things up, you know, you think about continuous improvement and financial improvement and making that connection. You know, if you serve customers better, improve delivery, improve quality, reduce lead times, you increase sales. You have the opportunity to increase sales. That's the financial impact. That's the connection. Improve quality, you also reduce material cost. If you look at improving process performance, like in manufacturing, improving material flow, you increase contribution margin and cash flow. Improving productivity, reduce fixed costs as a percentage of sales, increase capacity. Costs, you know, focus on measuring fixed costs as a percentage of sales. And in terms of safety and morale, you know, having a safe work environment helps manage costs. Having high morale and respect for people, you know, you have an engaged workforce, less turnover, less training expense. So again, connecting continuous improvement to the bottom line is, what are we improving? How is performance changing? And then use the box score to drive the thinking. So just to wrap things up, all of you who are attending the webinar or watching the recording, you're on the mailing list. Over the next few weeks, I'll be announcing the 2024 webinar schedule for the first quarter. After this email, please complete the survey. In fact, one of the survey questions is, what topics would you like me to present? If you want continuing education credits, email me for the certificate. And remember that, you know, the box score drives the thinking. We want to understand the lean relationships between operating performance, capacity performance, and financial performance. And in terms of decisions, you know, we're looking at overall box score improvement. If continuous improvement just improves operating performance, it's good. If it improves capacity performance, it's good. A specific improvement event may not have a direct financial impact, but that's okay. So use the box score to drive the thinking and understand the true box score impact of continuous improvement. In terms of BMA and lean accounting, I mean, I have the certification programs available on the website. You can learn more. We're going to do a drawing and give one away. I mentioned the free lean accounting toolkit in terms of capacity templates and things like that, there's the link to that. If you have any questions, let me know. Just a couple questions, or a couple comments. Somebody said extra capacity, available capacity, helps morale. If people are allowed to have some free time to use their brain creatively on improvements, they'll feel better about their contributions. That's really good. And then there's also another comment that there should be mandatory piece of capacity dedicated to continuous improvement regardless of the current state of the company. So good comments there, Joe. All right, so what I'm going to do is I got to go in and Keith, turn it over to you.
Awesome. Thanks, Nick.
Do you want control of the slides, or you want me to just?
You can have control. I'll just give a quick, I'll just say a couple of things, and then maybe in the comments, if anybody is interested in a follow-up from us, we certainly don't want to be pushy, or anything like that. But if you'd like a little bit of information about KPI Fire, we'd be more than happy to share it. I'm Keith Norris. I'm the CEO at KPI Fire. Randy, he's the VP of Sales here. He got stuck in jury duty today, so I'm subbing in for him. And at KPI Fire, I would describe us as missionaries and ambassadors for continuous improvement. I love the discipline and the people that we get to work with. People are passionate about continuous improvement, and Nick is a great example of one of those people who I really love Nick's approach and his genuine interest in promoting this as a discipline. I find that the foundation of continuous improvement really is people who want to make a difference inside of organizations, and that a great program starts with people, and it starts with respect for the people themselves through safety and morale, respect for the customers through delivering good value, respect for the company in terms of doing things that make good business value. And I often say that continuous improvement is a little bit like personal development for the organization. It's a place where people can really make an impact on the business and find that level of fulfillment. So our mission at KPI Fire is really to bring continuous improvement into the enterprise and to make sure these programs, that they sustain, that they stay, that they don't just come in and become like the flavor of the month, but they're something that can be sustained over time. And much like us as individuals, you might think of like Maslow's hierarchy of needs. We need food and we need shelter before we can pursue, enlightenment and fulfillment. Organizations need to know that the programs that they're investing in deliver real financial benefits. And so, if you want a full explanation or demo of KPI Fire, we'd be happy to do that. But at its essence, KPI Fire is a tool that can help you quantify the impact that your improvement program is having inside of your organization, primarily through focusing on the improvement of individual projects, things like the box score that Nick mentioned. As you can see, our tagline there: align strategy, drive execution, engage people. That's really what our mission is all about. We'd love to share that with anybody who has an interest. And Nick, really appreciate the opportunity to say a few words on your webinar here today.
You want to talk about this, Keith?
Yeah, this is just a list of some of the customers that we work with. We tend to work with a lot of large enterprises and folks that have continuous improvement programs. There's various different evolutions of lean and continuous improvement programs. We work with a lot of companies, big and small. So that's just really some of the industries. If you see anything on there that looks familiar, maybe it's something you want to take a look at. This is really the essence of KPI Fire: goals, things we want to accomplish, metrics, how we're going to measure it, projects, the work that gets done. And then the reports and the huddle boards there is the central focus. And again, the theme that the essence of KPI Fire is to help quantify the impact of those improvement projects. But really, there's a lot of the people side, the engagement from ideas that get shared to how to execute those projects. We work with organizations directly or with consultants. So if you are a consultant or have a consultant that you like to work with, we're super happy to work with anybody to help set up the software as a tool to support the really the continuous improvement culture inside of your organizations. Yeah, three main problem areas: alignment, visibility, and productivity. It's just that theme again of some of the problems that exist inside of organizations. And again, there's really a lot to a successful continuous improvement program. And I personally love like the culture and the people side of things. I love it when somebody is able to get a promotion or to lead a new business unit because of the skills and the tools and the things that they learned in doing some projects. So ultimately, all of this stuff here corresponds to specific features inside KPI Fire and specific problems that we can help solve. But if any of this stuff strikes you and resonates as something that you'd like to try to get set up inside your organization, if you're somebody who's trying to really promote the culture of continuous improvement and take it from something that is just the job of one or two people to really more of a mindset and a way of doing things around your organization, then we'd like to encourage you to go to our website, schedule a call with us. You can find me or Randy on LinkedIn if you'd like, and just appreciate the opportunity to share a few words. Thanks, Nick.
All right, thanks a lot, Keith. So we are right at the top of the hour. Thanks for attending the webinar. If you have any subsequent questions or comments about the webinar, please feel free to write me. You will receive an email with a link to the recording. And again, you can share that link with anybody you want in the company or in your company. There's one more question here. Joe, you said it was a good webinar. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. And everyone, please have happy holidays over the next few weeks. Have a good New Year's, and we'll see you next year on more lean accounting webinars. Bye-bye.
Thanks a lot, Nick.
Bye-bye.